Hello, I'm Professor Eugene Mack, and I want to speak to you briefly about two things. One is my experience as a male, hetero, black man in America as compared to living or visiting outside of America. In America, I'm defined by others by my skin, and so wherever I go, that's the first thing that people see. Stigmatism that they associate with people of color is something that I experience, and therefore I must be always on my guard to make sure that I'm aware of my surroundings and that people receive me in the way that I am, in the way I exist as a Black professional. So, growing up in the South and growing up in the household of a single mother, she was my example, and she was the guide that led me to be the person that I am today. My father was absent, so I did have to rely on other role models in order to identify with the behavior that I should exhibit as a male. Much of that experience of understanding who I am as a male came from the church. Of course, the other aspect of what I learned about being a Black male came from being in school and being around my peers. And the experience outside of the United States is somewhat different. I've traveled to places where I'm just not a Black man because there are other Black men that are there that look like me, and the country is pretty homogenous. And I've been to countries where it's unusual to see someone like me, for instance, in China, where people would stare and gawk because they had never really seen a Black person in person. And if you think about the news and what happens on the media, Black people are treated a certain way or portrayed a certain way by the media. The good thing is that when I went to China, however, I did meet some what I call friends who received me and welcomed me into their home, regardless of my skin tone. And that was unusual for me. When I've traveled to Europe, I also feel like people see me either as a Black man from America or a Black man from Africa. And therefore, there are certain stigmatisms that are associated with that. However, for the most part, I have been received well, depending on what country I've traveled to. For instance, going to Czechoslovakia or to Czech Republic rather, the experience is a little bit different than going to, let's say, the country of France. And so I think about that as I navigate this world, as I live and exist in this skin, that I have to always be mindful of who I am as an individual, a Black male born in America.